All right, ladies and gentlemen, Halos and Heroes back again. This is Sabaton Christmas Truce. It was one of the highest requested of the Sabaton videos. As always, if you like this reaction and want to see more, let's go ahead and get those comments in. Um, but being this is almost 10 minutes of video, and I did the animated short story video, and I like those because of how well done they are. I do have the lyrics pulled up, and let's go.
It's the night of December the 24th, 1914, on the Western Front. The industrial might of the new 20th century has been focused into a war that has been going on for 5 months. Everyone thought it would be over by Christmas, but sadly such hopes have now died alongside the young men in the clinging mud and cold of the trenches. On the run-up to Christmas, Pope Benedict XV begged the warring governments to call a truce and asked that the guns may fall silent, at least upon the night the angels sang. But it was no use.
Yeah, see, right off the bat, it's like war never takes a break. No matter what's going on, war never seems to be able to take a break or find a, unfortunately. Um, as I get older and kind of discover the purpose and the concept behind why we go to war in the first place, none of it needs to happen, in my opinion. Um, there are times where, like, if you're fighting over, what you believe in or fighting against a corrupt government, maybe, but all the other reasons, money, oil, places we don't need to be, that we don't belong, that aren't our business to begin with. Just my opinion, don't come for me.
In the trenches, sometimes just 30 meters apart, the men of both sides often shout insults to each other above the sounds of battle. On Christmas Eve, a cry comes over from the German side in broken English. Tomorrow, you no shoot. We no shoot. The British and French are incredulous. Then along the trenches, there's a movement. But instead of seeing the sight of men going over the top, this time, pushed up above the top of the trenches, Christmas trees start to appear along the German lines, lit up by flickering candles. Is it a ruse? Could it be real? Could the regular soldiers on the front lines make a peace at Christmas when the church could not? On the wind, drifting across no man's land, there's a sound of hope and cheer as Christmas carols are sung. The gentle murmur becomes stronger and is picked up by more and more of the soldiers. As Christmas Eve becomes Christmas Day, the British and French join in too.
You know, wow, chills. To be able to do among ourselves what the church wasn't able to do, what the government wasn't willing to do, speaks a lot for the power of humanity at its core. What humans are willing and capable of, even when everything goes against it or tells them not to.
As the morning draws, there's silence. In a farmhouse a short distance away from the front line is 18-year-old Scotsman Alfred Anderson. He vividly recalled that Christmas Day and said, "I remember the silence, the eerie sound of silence. Only the guards were on duty. We all went outside the farm buildings and just stood listening. And of course, thinking of people back home. All I'd heard for 2 months in the trenches was the hissing, cracking and whining of bullets in flight, machine gun fire and distant German voices. But there was a dead silence that morning, right across the land as far as you could see."
I mean, think about it. You're out here, you're 18, 19 years old, never been away from home, or this is your first time away from your family, and I mean, war is surreal. When you're there and you're on the front line, it's a whole different thing, you know? Yeah, you miss your family, but you're constantly on guard. You're constantly struggling to, remain alert, hyper vigilant, because you never know what's going to happen. So when all of that is taken away and it's just silence. That's going to be just as unnerving, if not more so, because you're like, well, now what? Now what's going to happen?
We shouted, "Merry Christmas!"
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
even though nobody felt merry.
Great choice of music right off the bat. Dun 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 dun. Caroling of the Bells.
Silence!
Take that back. So it is based on Caroling of the Bells, but it is not Caroling of the Bells, probably because they didn't want to get copyrighted, and neither do I. So I will very carefully tread through this song, but um, just know that I am absolutely enjoying this so far. Thank you all for the recommendation. And could you imagine how, I mean, I'm not laughing at it, but could you imagine the fear that this ball inflicted? Like they're so used to grenades and mortars at this point that a volleyball or a soccer ball is terrifying.
Silence! Oh, I remember the silence on a cold winter day. After many months on the battlefield, and we were used to the violence, then all the cannons went silent, and the snow fell. Voices sang to me from no man's land. We are all, we are all, we are all, we are all friends.
I mean, right off the bat, yeah. I remember the silence on a cold winter day after many months on the battlefield, and we were all used to the violence. Then the cannons went silent, and the snow fell. Voices sang from no man's land. We are all friends. You know, like I was talking about a minute ago, and I'm still getting chills. Holy crap! Um, can you imagine the people you've been fighting against this whole time suddenly take enough time to appreciate each other as human beings before going back to what they were ordered to do in the first place?
And today we're all brothers, tonight we're all friends. A moment of peace in a war that never ends. Today we're all brothers, we drink and unite. Now Christmas has arrived and the snow turns the ground white. Hear carols from the trenches, we sing a holy night. Our guns lay to rest on snowflakes. Our Christmas in the trenches, our Christmas on the front, far from home. Madness, how I remember the sadness. We were hiding our tears in a foreign land where we faced our fears.
Yeah. The When he says now Christmas has arrived and the snow turns the ground white, I want you guys to think about the implications, truly. Because, A, up to that point, that ground hasn't been as white as it is right now. And B, even where it wasn't stained other colors, the madness that he continues on to sing about. That fog of war limits us from seeing, just seeing the landscape for what it is, the forest for the trees, so to speak.
We were soldiers, carried the war on our shoulders, for our nations. Is that why we bury our friends? We were all friends, and today we're all brothers. Tonight we're all friends. Our moment of peace in a war that never ends. Today we're all brothers. We drink and unite. Now Christmas has arrived and the snow turns the ground white. Hear carols from the
I just have to pause and say that that's pretty funny that the Scotsman is in his kilt. Because why wouldn't he be? That's got to be cold. I hope he's not wearing a traditional.
trenches. We sing a holy night. Our guns laid to rest on snowflakes. Our Christmas in the trenches. Our Christmas on the front, far from home.
That was a beautiful guitar solo. Absolutely beautiful. The comparing of family and the demonstration that no matter which side of a fight or a war we're on, we're all still human. We're all still people underneath. We all matter. And we need to remember that. And I think especially with everything that's going on now and all the ups and downs that we face, it's more important than ever that we come together, that we remember that no matter who we are, what our social standing, what our faith, we're all people, we're all human.
We were all friends, and today we're all brothers. Tonight we're all friends.
You are going to have that one person in every group that is just going to be the absolute piss taker for everyone else. Everyone that's having fun, everyone that's participating. You're going to have that one person or those few people that are just going to want to just absolutely take the piss out of it for everyone else because they can't stop and have fun, they can't relax, they can't enjoy, or whatever the reason. Instead of letting everybody else, have that moment of enjoyment for themselves, they're going to piss on it and try and ruin it. And so you're never going to please everyone. You're never going to make everyone happy. And the best thing I can recommend is accept yourself. Be happy with yourself. Enjoy those small moments that you have to enjoy this life. And don't let other people rent space in your head free. Just enjoy it. I mean, yeah, just enjoy it.
A moment of peace in a war that never ends. Today we're all brothers, we drink and unite. Now Christmas has arrived and the snow turns the ground white. On Christmas on the front line we walk among our friends. We don't think about tomorrow, the battle will commence. When we celebrate to Christmas we thought about our friends, those who never made it home when the battle had commenced.
It's important for them to take pictures and remember this because by tomorrow they're going to be back at it and it's going to suck. And not everyone's going to leave the same way they came. But to have this moment of levity and clarity, I think is important to remember.
There were many matches along the lines that day, some with proper footballs, some with bully beef cans, some were disorganised scrambles for the ball. Robert Graves reported that in his match, the Germans won 3-2. The Argyll and Southern Highlanders reported their match ended 4-1 to Scotland. An estimated 100,000 men took part in the Christmas Truce. As the men moved back to their trenches, Captain Charles Stockwell took it upon himself to fire 3 shots skyward. He raised a flag upon which was written, "Merry Christmas." His German opposite raised a flag that read, "Thank you." The 2 men then stood on the ramparts and saluted each other. Alfred Anderson, the young Scotsman, survived the war and lived to the age of 109. He said of the end of the
109. Wow. Could you imagine the stories that man could tell? Seriously. To live an entire century. Wow. That's crazy. That's insane. So, before I continue, I just want to say a few things. Musically, as always, the band is on point. You guys have pointed out that the band appears in each of these animated videos. So I've seen the singer, and I've seen at least 1 or 2 other people in it, but I'm still not as familiar with the band as I should be. But yeah, musically on point. The guitar solo was awesome. I love the power metal, and I guess some people call it war metal. I don't know, but it's good either way. I like it. So this video will be out Monday morning. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you for being here.
truce, the silence ended in the early afternoon. It was a short peace in a terrible war. But one of the most remarkable quotes comes from a young soldier who, despite being away from his family for the first time, said of the events on that day, "I wouldn't have missed it for the most gorgeous Christmas dinner in England." A Merry Christmas from everyone at Yarnhub, and the final words go to the members of Sabaton.
Merry Christmas!
Thank you guys for being here. This is amazing. I will be getting into more Sabaton, I promise. I hope you guys have enjoyed. As always, thank you for being here. I love you. You're not alone. I care.